So speaking of 0-2 teams facing 2-0 teams, it all starts with the Dolphins and the Bills. We have the 2-0 Colts, that is crazy to say, against the Titans, the Jets, and the Bucks, and the Packers and the Browns. So we're going from some lopsided matchups to the battle for 3-0 with the Rams and the Eagles, a divisional round rematch on deck. Now, the Eagles, if you remember, swept the Rams last season, and Saquon Barkley ran all over the Rams last season as well. He had 460 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns against the Rams last season. It's one of two matchups between 2-0 teams this week. The other one, the Cardinals and the 49ers. So that all gets started on Sunday, though, with the Rams and the Eagles at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, let's welcome in JP Acosta and Tyler Sullivan. Guys, we're going to preview this matchup here, this divisional round rematch, if you will, with the Rams and the Eagles. Matt Stafford on one side, Jalen Hurts on the other. Tyler, I'll come to you first here. Have the Rams done enough in this offseason to kind of make you think that this matchup is going to be any different than the last two that we saw last season?
Yeah, I think so. Again, you have a defense that is young, it's emerging. They are going to be a much more different unit than they faced even a postseason ago, which took them to the brink. You talk about Philadelphia's Super Bowl run of a year ago. The team that gave them the run for their most money was the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, there was snow and weather was a factor, but the Rams were nearly able to pull off that upset. The key to me, and you talk about off-season changes, to me it's the addition of Davante Adams in for Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper Kupp, in terms of the franchise history, a far better player, a far more beloved player. But for 2025, Davante Adams is an upgrade. You saw it last week going for over 100 yards receiving. I think that he is going to be an impact player here, especially when Philadelphia, one of the weaknesses is that second cornerback spot with Adoree Jackson. If they're able to pick on that, Matthew Stafford and Davante Adams or Puka Nacua, whoever's on them, that could be the key to them pulling off an upset here.
I think another way that the Rams have really tried to close that gap between the Eagles and the NFC is by adding Poona Ford, defensive tackle. He came over from the Chargers, didn't even have to move very far to go play for the Rams. But what he's done is added such a monster element to their run game. They can now add some more hockey rotations to that defensive line and take some hits off of guys like Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner, so they're more fresh and ready to roll in the pass rush game. So I think adding Poona Ford, who's going to be able to help again in the run game against the Eagles team that's really going to try and run the ball a lot, I think that's going to be a really big help in this Sunday's matchup.
Also, when we think of the Eagles, we think Tush Push, right? It's synonymous. And the Eagles coming off of that win over the Chiefs, and they were accused, the Eagles that is, of a false start situation with the Tush Push. So here's what Chris Jones had to say on the matter. Take a listen.
You know, sometimes can't get them all the calls right. And just because we see it, sometimes the official is 15, 20 feet away. Sometimes it can miss those small things. And we think he jumped multiple times. So an official didn't see it, so it wasn't called. And, you know, we just got to go play the next down.
So, of course, prior to this game, folks have, voiced their frustration over the Tush Push, and it was on the table to be banned last season. JP, do you share similar frustrations, and do you think this is going to maybe rile up folks about the Tush Push even more after we just heard from Chris Jones?
Yeah, I think it's going to rile a lot of people up about the Tush Push. To me, this feels a lot like back when James Harden was on the Rockets and trying to get guys to foul him when he was shooting threes. And then the next year, they changed the rule to make sure that anytime you jump into a defender in the air, it'd be an offensive foul. This feels exactly like what's going to happen. This feels like when the defender gets an elbow put in him by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they don't call that a foul. I think the Eagles have gotten away with a lot of that because the ref just didn't see it. But now that it's become public, now that it's become a thing that people are going to look out for, I wonder if they're going to start calling it a little bit more now that they're able to notice it. But to me, again, I think the Tush Push is fine. I think if you don't like it, if you don't want to try and stop it, I think you got to try and lift bigger weights to go try and solve that problem. But to me, if you have those false start problems, I think they're going to start calling them on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not in the camp of wanting it banned for the sake of it being an ugly play or teams can't stop it or can't mimic it. The Philadelphia Eagles do it better than anyone else, but I will say this, as much as I don't want it banned, this situation that we saw at Arrowhead Stadium is another arrow in the quiver of people who don't want this in the league anymore. They can now look at this and go to the league and say, hey, listen, we're all for fair play and all of that, but if you can't officiate this play, then why is it in the league? If this team is going with the guards first and then the center snaps the football every single time to give them an advantage, that doesn't help us on the field. So again, if they can't officiate it, that's a problem. And that's something that teams that don't like the tush push will use this offseason.
JP said, hey, if you can't stop the tush push, get back in the weight room and lift some more weights. He said what he said. So we know the Eagles, they have success with the tush push. They have a dual threat quarterback. They can certainly run the ball, but their passing offense has been off to kind of a slow start. How much does that concern you, Tyler, when you have a guy named Saquon Barkley that's also on your roster that can help you out in other ways?
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about this. This feels like nitpicking a defending Super Bowl champion that is 2-0. They beat a division rival in the Dallas Cowboys in week 1. Typically a tough spot for the defending Super Bowl champion. That opener is always kind of a tricky game. They go into Arrowhead Stadium and take down the Kansas City Chiefs, the team that they played in the Super Bowl a year ago. Yes, the Chiefs have their flaws, but those are 2 quality wins to start the season. And it's not like Jalen Hurts has been bad throwing the football. His off-target rate is about 2.2%. It's the lowest in the NFL. And yes, the attempts necessarily aren't there, but overall, they're able to win in multiple different ways. We've seen it last year when they want to open it up and pass the football around and throw it around the yard. They're able to do so at a very good clip with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert when he's healthy. But their bread and butter is to run the football, whether it is with Jalen Hurts and the tush push or with Saquon Barkley. Specifically for this game, they're probably going to lean on Saquon Barkley, who, as you referenced, had 4 touchdowns last season of 60-plus yards against the Los Angeles Rams. You're not going to shy away from that just to throw the football for the sake of being a balanced offense or a pass-heavy offense. If they want to run the football, and they can to a high degree, more power to them.
Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's go to the Rams side of things, right? Because there were concerns in the offseason for Matt Stafford missing time, that back injury, and what's that connection with Matt Stafford and Devontae Adams going to look like, right? So far, it looks pretty good. Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams look pretty good, right, JP? So do you think that this wide receiver duo is going to be able to find success against this Eagles defense?
I think this will be their toughest matchup of the year, but I do think they'll find success, largely because Devontae Adams has become such a massive, massive addition to the Rams offense in terms of beating man coverage on the outside. The Rams last year didn't really have that kind of guy. They were stuck with using Puka Nacua, who is fantastic, but not a guy who you consider is a separator against man coverage. Now they had Devontae Adams, one of the best separators against man in league history, going up against the Eagles defense that is very good. It has Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the slot, but I do wonder if Quinion Mitchell does follow Devontae Adams in this game. Because Puka Nacua lines up so much in the slot, you can ask Cooper DeJean to kind of play more on him, but if Devontae Adams is just picking on Adoree Jackson or Jacorian Bennett, it's going to be a long day for the Eagles defense.
All right, we got to put you guys on the spot. Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. Tyler, I'll come to you first. Give us a pick.
I'm going with the Eagles here. There is a quarterback that plays against Sean McVay better than anybody, and that's Jalen Hurts. 3-0 in his career against Sean McVay. And if you zoom out a little bit more for Jalen Hurts, I know we were just talking about him, in the 16 games previously that he has started and finished, the dude's 16-0. So as much as we talk about whether or not he's not passing enough or passing more efficiently, the dude wins at the end of the day. And I think that Philadelphia is too talented. And yes, the Rams are one of the big contenders in the NFC. But at home, in this setting, I like Philadelphia.
Part of me really wants to pick the Rams here just because I do wonder about the Eagles passing game without Dallas Goedert, but it's going to be at home. I wonder if the Rams did enough to help fix their run game with Poona Ford, because if they didn't, I think Saquon Barkley is going to run wild. I'm going to pick the Eagles here, but I do see a really good chance for the Rams winning.
Yeah, you know it's going to be crazy at the link. Those fans are loud and insane. JP, Tyler, we certainly appreciate it. Previewing Rams-Eagles for us here on CBS Sports HQ, and we got you covered on Sundays, the NFL on CBS. the 1 o'clock window, the 4 o'clock slate as well. You can watch your local game live and, of course, stream all the action on Paramount Plus as well.